Okay, my influences are kind of different. I come from a different place than probably a lot of these bass acts. Um, I was more of a b-boy type, so the music I listened to was started out from George Clinton, P-Funk, all that funky stuff back in the day, to listening to Grandmaster Caz, Houdini, Fat Boys, Run DMC, Mantronics. When it came to Miami bass, my influences in the music that I was doing, the beats and stuff, were mainly Kraftwerk, number one, um, Planet Patrol, Soul Sonic Force. I saw them guys down at a place called Pete and Lenny's back in the day, like early 80s, and they just kicked ass. They put on a hell of a show, and I just liked the fast beats. Twilight 22, all those groups that came out influenced me. Some of the people down here I give props to would definitely be Pretty Tony, Eric Griffin, Danny D, a lot of that stuff. Um, Really good stuff. Um, but basically just trying to do something a little bit different. My music was a little fairly dubby with different samples in it and stuff like that. You could do all that stuff back then, just sample, which you can't do now. So it was pretty wide open. Getting back to earlier, I hung out at weekends, Club in Boca a lot, and came up to West Palm Beach. It was a little bit different up here. The main groups back then were like Dynamix, Danny D, KJ and Cooley C were a few of the guys. I think I was really the first white DJ down here that was doing cuts and things like that. We went on the road. I was like the only white guy. A lot of good music came out of there. And this was like, right after the time I was in the movie and doing some of those things. So I was pretty much all over the place, but mainly just trying to, be a dancer, break dancer, and DJing and doing whatever, and then just ended up in the Miami bass. And, got into producing, and just definitely it's good to have this type of documentary so people can see what happened. I think it kind of gets lost. We didn't get as much respect back then as from up north, New York area, because I don't think that they just didn't accept us. It was just that they had already been through this type of music and moved on. So I don't think it was anything that they didn't have any respect for. It wasn't their thing. And I know, West Coast and East Coast, similar type of music, and just kind of faded out. So I think it's good to have a documentary like this to bring some of those artists out. A lot of great artists back then. Two Live Crew, Clay D, Shy D. Some of the people that were on our label was Shy D, Iceman J, Gigolo Tony, and Foresight Records definitely with ADE came out with some really groundbreaking bass music and stuff like that broke nationally first. So it was definitely a good experience being with Adrian and doing shows with those guys, and just doing what we do, man. Miami bass, definitely.
Go into talking about you were talking about the shows and stuff as far as not getting paid and whatnot. Just a lot of this documentary too is going to educate people.
Right.
New jacks coming up as far as that they thought you got to make
Right.
it go and whatnot.
Okay, well, back in the day, things were a lot different for the DJs. Even this weekend's DJ contest that you'll probably have a clip of. It was me, Dynamix guy David Noller, Jealous J, Johnny Quest, who was probably about 12 years old at the time, I ended up naming him, and he became my DJ after that. Videotaped the contest so they could basically use to find out what I was doing. There was no YouTube back then, so we didn't have tutorials. There weren't mixers with curve adjustments on them or transformers. We drilled in our mixers and put the transformers from Radio Shack, transformer buttons and everything. So back then it was a lot different. And a lot of the reason why I got out of it or moved on was because we didn't get paid a lot. The promoters wouldn't get enough people in the venue, and we wouldn't end up getting paid, or the record labels, You know, they sign you to a contract and everything's recoupable against the artist. So you go to get your royalties, and then they say, well, you know, we pressed this record for you, this or that, and it just got to be a lot of crap. So I kind of moved on. I mean, I'm a purist in DJing and producing everything, but I'm also a tech type of guy, so I welcome all the improvements and all the technical things that come out, the software, and you don't even need hardware in some situations now. Everything's software. So I've kind of moved on to doing some of that, and now it's a whole different game than back then. You know, everybody was just out for themselves, and now more control is in the hand of the artist now. So you can put your own stuff out there on iTunes, and I think it's a lot easier to represent yourself and create yourself as a company, as opposed to having to sell your soul just so you can get on a label. It's the same thing when it came to Heatwave label. I wasn't on any labels at the time, and they offered me to do something that I didn't want to do, and that was do a remake of Danny D's track. And I just did it to get my other track out there, but really kind of regret doing that, because I respect Danny D as a producer back then and even now. But those were the kind of things you had to do. The labels knew that they had you, you know, that if you're not already established, then you're not going to get any type of deal, you know, and anything that you're going to have to basically go with what they want. But it's a learning experience, and I moved on from it.